Welcome to the deep dive, where we take a stack of source material, strip away all the clutter, and really just try to deliver the core insight.
The things that stick with you.
Exactly. And today we are diving deep into the very turbulent emotional landscape of the Bluetones 1996 album, Expecting to Fly.
Right.
So our mission here is to analyze the thematic content of this record just through its lyrics. We want to map out the painful geography of human connection that it presents.
From that very first miscommunication all the way to, to definitive scarring heartbreak.
Yeah, we want to understand the psychological architecture that's built across these 11 tracks. Okay, let's unpack this. The title, Expecting to Fly, it suggests this, promise of liberation, of soaring above it all. It's hopeful.
Is very hopeful. But when you actually listen to the songs, when you get into the lyrics, the experience it's raw, it's grounded, and often really steeped in conflict and regret.
So this album isn't actually about the flight itself. No, not at all. It's about the gravitational pull that keeps us stuck. Stuck in these cycles we just can't seem to break.
It's the perfect tension, isn't it? And the source material here, the lyrics, they let us craft this really comprehensive psychological profile of a relationship that's in a fatal decline.
Right.
The central question the album seems to be asking is, how do you achieve, authentic self-growth when you're constantly being defined by the expectations and the disappointments of other people?
It's about the difficulty of lifting off when you're just so weighed down.
Exactly. Weighed down by all that shared history.
And if we follow that narrative arc, the turbulence almost always starts in the same place: communication breakdown.
Always.
We open with the track, Talking to Clary, and immediately the speaker is just disoriented. The core metaphor is that communication is burned and blurred.
Right, which leads to that overwhelming feeling of absurdity. He says, I can't understand a word, though there's nothing to be heard. It's all gone quite absurd.
And what's crucial there is that the internal communication failure is, it's mirrored by this external noise.
Yes, the speaker feels bombarded. It's people in corridors, people in doorways, people wherever I turn.
It's this sense of social suffocation.
Which leads to a bigger, almost existential weariness. Life rolls along and teaches us nothing. The confusion isn't just personal anymore. It's this global fatigue that makes solving the actual relationship problems feel impossible.
And that blurry frustration you hear in Clary, it escalates. It escalates really quickly into something far more toxic and aggressive.
Oh, yeah.
If that first track is the slow erosion of meaning, Cut Some Rug is...
Yeah.
It's the scorched earth policy. The tone just flips.
It shifts from confusion to this visceral rejection. The speaker wants permanent distance. He says, as far as I'm concerned, that's where you can stay.
The imagery is just brutal.
It's fascinating, isn't it? The sheer brutality of the lyrics used to define the antagonist. We're not talking about simple disagreements anymore.
No.
They're compared to Blitzkrieg and the Doodlebug, these historical symbols of unprovoked destructive force.
And then that line, salt upon a bubbling slug.
It's maximum aversion. It's so unpleasant. The speaker isn't looking for a resolution here.
No, he's seeking emotional decontamination. All he wants is to escape, to just cut some rug, dance his way out of the whole mess.
But the cruelty of it seems to be rooted in a deep personal insult. The speaker zeroes in on the partner's perceived lack of character.
Saying it's easy to live in a bubble, but hard to have responsibility, and judging by you a personality. I mean, that's just pure spite.
It feels like a calculated effort to inflict maximum pain because the conflict has just become unbearable.
But is it possible that the spite is, that it's rooted in an accurate diagnosis?
That's a sharp interpretation. The lyric is hitting below the belt, yes, but it's accusing the partner of lacking the weight of a genuine identity.
So when she offers that empty gesture, you say, I can talk to you anytime, it just misses the point.
Completely. The speaker doesn't need to talk. He needs the partner to change. That perceived lack of personality is the justification he needs for the escape.
Which makes sense. The inability to provoke change or even a real reaction, it just leads to resentment.
And that resentment eventually explodes.
Which takes us to Can't Be Trusted. Track 7. And this feels like the terrible consequence of all the aggression we were just talking about. We see the speaker's own failure and then this violent confrontation.
This track is essential because it shows the cycle closing. After all that external blame and cut some rug, here the speaker admits his own flaws.
Low esteem and lack of self-control.
Right. This is the speaker recognizing they're not the moral victor. The accuser is given the moral high ground. Her dignity is what makes her an angel.
And the conflict is made so physically real. The speaker's doubt about his own character leads directly to a blow to the lip and some blood on my shirt.
That one detail, the blood on the shirt, it just grounds the entire narrative of betrayal in this raw, immediate memory for you.
Yeah.
It's not abstract anymore.
It's tangible pain.
And that physical shock, it necessitates a shift in focus. Once the external conflict reaches that point, the only place left to look is inward.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because the album moves into the struggle against predefined roles in history. In the Fountainhead, the speaker realizes he's trapped.
The metaphor of being the fountainhead, the perpetual source, that's the mechanism of the trap.
Right.
The speaker is defined as the boy whose thoughts keep running away. So no matter what positive action he takes, the partner only sees him as the source of chaos.
But we see the struggle so clearly. I've tried to bridge the gap. I'm starting to pull myself through.
But he's fighting against this fixed narrative. And the breakthrough moment is when he sees the shared burden. I see from your mistakes, you're as blind as me.
He realizes he was trying to fix someone who was just as lost as he was.
And that shared blindness leads to the ultimate act of self-determination. He commits to stop suffering others' definitions of him and just focus on self-management.
I shall stick to the rules, but I won't suffer fools.
Exactly. And critically, he accepts the chaos within himself. He decides to own his imperfections instead of fighting to prove he's perfect for her. He says, I'll fall down again if that's what it takes. It's this embrace of his own messy humanity.
That commitment to changing the self is then immediately contrasted with the frustration of stagnation in Things Change.
The title is such a paradox.
It is. Everything around them is changing, but the core relationship dynamic, it doesn't budge.
The speaker observes it. Things change, but a pattern is present. A formula remains. The realization that the partner is stuck is maybe the greatest frustration of all.
And the tone of exasperation just explodes with those final lines. He believes her only option lies with me.
And that peak frustration in that short, blunt line, come on, thickhead.
It's the sound of someone whose own growth is being throttled by the emotional inertia of the person they're still with.
That inability to drag the partner forward leads, finally, to the decisive action we find in A Parting Gesture.
Track 10. This is the moment of irreversible, non-negotiable change.
A shift from frustration to a firm acceptance of separation.
Yeah, the speaker has moved past trying to fix things and instead just acknowledges the permanent damage. The core insight that defines that new boundary is just. It's a searing line. I'm not the same person I was a year ago. You cut me deeply and the scars still show.
So the pain, in a sense, it became generative. The scars are proof of a self-transformation that was forced on him by the toxic dynamic.
And the relationship is now a threat to this newly formed identity.
So the logical conclusion is that firm boundary. Don't expect to come home to an open door. It's pure self-preservation.
So once that boundary is set, how do you deal with the immediate aftermath? This is where we get into the complicated zone of ending and closure.
Right, putting out fires.
Track 8. It perfectly captures that lingering uncertainty. It uses the fire metaphor to talk about passion, destruction, and, well, attempts at salvaging something.
The lyrical oscillation in this track really shows how hard it is to end something decisively. One moment, the speaker is hopeful. If we put our heads together, I think we can salvage it.
But then immediately that strength is gone. I was so sure then, and now I don't know.
He's struggling to reconcile the end of passion with a continuation of history.
And we see that conflict between categories friendship versus love. The hopeful idea is losing a lover, gaining a friend.
But the reality is exposed as the devastating act of losing a lover, lying to a friend.
That transition from the ideal to just deception, it highlights the exhaustion of trying to find a palatable exit strategy.
The speaker is questioning his own sincerity, asking if he is a liar who smothers the flames.
And on that note of artificiality, we have to talk about the crucial detail in our source material for this one track.
Ah, yes. The credits.
Putting Out Fires uniquely credits David Bowie and Giorgio Moroder as composers alongside the band.
Which is fascinating. What does that suggest?
Well, this song, which is all about the difficult, maybe deceptive act of salvaging a dead relationship, it relies partially on external, borrowed creative energy.
It implies that perhaps the effort to restart or salvage the passion is fundamentally artificial. It's a borrowed fire from another time, another source, rather than something genuinely organic to them.
Exactly. It casts this shadow of inauthenticity over the whole attempt.
which reinforces that sense of deception in the lyrics. Now, if we look at how the album suggests actual coping, not salvaging, we find two really contrasting mechanisms in Slight Return and Bluetonic.
Slight return suggests a temporary reckoning, doesn't it? It's an acknowledgement that confrontation, or at least analysis, is necessary.
But a resolution isn't required. The return is explicitly temporary, just for a short while, serving only to understand the mechanism of the failure.
The core philosophy there is, you don't have to have the solution. You've got to understand the problem. It's a rational, necessary visit to the source of pain.
But only for diagnosis, not repair.
Then you have Bluetonic, which is a completely different resilient counterpoint. It's the choice to maintain individuality and style in the face of all this melancholy.
No challenge should be faced without a little charm and a lot of style. It's an embrace of the self that refuses to be molded by sorrow.
And it directly challenges that cliche of passive healing. The line, "Don't put your faith in time, she heals but doesn't change," is so key.
Because time dulls the pain, but it doesn't change the underlying patterns. In fact, Bluetonic insists that only a fool won't take the chance to stay the same.
It reframes staying consistent as an act of profound strength.
It does. And that distinction brings us to the final stages of this lyrical journey, which are marked by deep resignation and emotional exhaustion.
Right. Tracks like Time Again and Vampire. In Time Again, the physical toll of this emotional warfare is just immense.
You can feel it. The speaker is completely depleted. The body is a bloated sack. The legs feel too weak.
This isn't just sadness. It's a total shutdown, emotionally and physically. The despair hits its peak with the preference for never having loved at all.
Faced with having to have and then lose, I'd choose never to have had. Yeah.
That's the ultimate defense mechanism, isn't it? Erasing the memory to avoid the pain.
It reflects a complete emotional collapse, reinforced by that repeated phrase, "Time and again my feelings never seem to show." He's so exhausted by feeling and fighting that he just becomes numb.
And finally, Vampire serves as this quiet, exhausted epilogue. The song is about moving past the draining situation. The beast has subsided, the partner is gone, having left the speaker unguided, you left me divided.
But the resolution arrives with that soft realization, I knew that this wasn't for me.
Yeah, the journey ends not with a bang of resentment, but with the quiet victory of a boy needn't hide anymore. He's finally shed that draining force.
So we connect all this to the bigger picture. Expecting to fly is, it's ultimately this powerful exploration of our human resistance to change. It shows how we get trapped in these cyclical patterns of disappointment. But by charting all this devastation, the album also validates the necessity of that painful self-discovery.
The need for setting boundaries and seeking really radical self-preservation.
The flight wasn't external, it was internal. The ability to finally escape the emotional gravity of a destructive partner.
So what does this all mean for you, the person taking this deep dive with us? I think it means recognizing that even when you hit absolute emotional zero, the kind of despair we hear in Time and Again, a core creative impulse can remain untouched.
Untouched by the wreckage.
Exactly. Remember that final desperate longing in that song? The speaker clings to the desire to find a brand new color, something no one had ever seen.
And he suggests this discovery could be unearthed right there in my garden.
Right there in his garden. So when the external world, the relationship, offers you only repetition and pain, what does the search for a completely new, unique discovery, cultivated in your own private internal space? What does that tell you about the final escape mechanism the creative mind seeks? Is personal originality, dug up and nurtured from within, the only sustainable cure for that profound relational emptiness? It's something to consider next time you feel stuck in a familiar, broken pattern.